Is Saturday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 45.5, -1.5, Ottawa at Montreal. But really, it is an amazing year. If you look at all the quarterbacks we spoke about last year, only one of them might be starting for the same team. That's just unheard of.
Yeah, in the CFL, we saw last year in the CFL, a lot of teams, they went 3 and in some cases 4 deep into their quarterback bench. So it's this one is a lot more changes than in the past couple of years. Look at every CFL season I go in with a future, preseason pick. Last year it was Ottawa, and they burned me, but we made it right in September, and we started on Toronto. This season it's Montreal. Montreal almost beat Toronto for a trip to the Grey Cup last year. And what do? They come back with almost the same exact roster, and they add Cody Fajardo. And so the only question is, what Cody are we going to see on the field on this entire season? Because what we saw last year was good Cody, bad Cody. We saw games with 3 interceptions. But if we go back 2 years ago, I was singing his praise. I wanted to see him play on Sundays in America. So I think that Montreal is going to easily handle Ottawa in this game. What I'm looking at as a fan is, what version of Cody are we going to see? We know their run game is going to show up. Montreal's got a tremendous run game, and Stanback was out a good amount of the season last year, which built their depth. Their 2 and 3 is every bit a worthy starter in this league. So Montreal is got a really good run game, and this is a team very well could have been in the Grey Cup last year.
So let's look at 2 things. You mentioned Easy Sports data with Winnipeg, and we went on a roll where we were just sitting around cashing every single week. Didn't matter who they were playing. Didn't matter where they were playing. But Ottawa and Montreal, they played 4 times last year. Some teams don't play 4 times, depending on if you're not in the same conference or division. So the question I have for you is, how important is – because like with the NFL, we look at head-to-head a lot. But we don't necessarily look at preseason. Well, they just came off 3 weeks of preseason, and they played 4 times last year. When you're looking at your handicapping, A, the first couple weeks, does preseason have anything to do with it? And B, what do you look at last year's head-to-heads?
So the head-to-heads matter, but in the scenario where we're looking at Montreal-Ottawa, Montreal did not have Cody Fajardo last year. And they also were without Stanback most of the season. He didn't come back until the playoffs. And you're talking about one of the best running backs that the CFL has had in the last decade. And you're also talking about couple more years to make that same statement with conviction, but you're talking about that same thing with Cody Fajardo. So you're adding that. When you're talking about CFL preseason, some of these rosters had 9 quarterbacks that they were working through. So you can't put too much stock into what you see in the preseason as far as the CFL. In fact, it means less than it does in the NFL, because the NFL is trying to figure out what their rookies are going to do, and they drafted players and they made trades for these draft picks. CFL works a little bit different with the draft and even trades, and the money's not truly a big factor either. You're not talking about $500 million contract. So the head-to-head from last year in this example doesn't matter, because they were without Stanback and now they have Cody. And Sask has got to work through who their starting quarterback is. I'm not saying that it's a death sentence to no longer have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But, I mean, you can fill in the blank there. They no longer have Cody.
Didn't they have a free fall last year? Right? Remember, they had a great record? They kept losing every week, and they ended up losing themselves right out of the playoffs, I think.
They did. They didn't do very well towards the end of the season. And and a lot of that, I was talking earlier, Cody can be inconsistent. So they may have made the right move by moving on. Montreal may have made a terrible move by going out and getting Cody. However, Sask, to answer that question,